We're going live here Tuesday night. I almost said Wednesday night, but it's not. Tuesday, live before lock, awesemo.com golf show. Every time I say that we're done, they literally invent new tournaments for us. So
We're back.
We're back. We are back in action here. Myself, Ben Razza, here with Jason Roslin. I never thought I would say this, but we are ready to break down the President's Cup DFS tournaments that we have. We have Captain Mode. First time ever. So we are breaking new ground. We're going to figure it all out. Are you excited? Are you surprised that we got this?
So I recall, and this is a story that won't take too long, and some people will probably laugh at me for, but I'll tell it anyway, just because it's fun. A known member of DraftKings by the name of John Aguilar, I'm sure you've probably heard of Johnny before. Well, I used to live in Rhode Island, as you know, so it was pretty close to their headquarters, and I got invited to a tournament, charity tournament by DraftKings to go and play in. This is probably 4 or 5 years ago, and the one thing I asked John for was, can we get DFS contest for President's Cup, or at the time it was Ryder Cup year. He's like, can't do it. PGA Tour doesn't like it. It's not interested. So now that the tour obviously has the deal with DraftKings, pretty much everything's on the table. So really excited to see them come out with this. The captain's format is maybe a week late, where really could have used it 2 weeks ago at the Hero, but still, absolutely love the format. And I personally love cup contests. I mean, I have always watched the Ryder Cup, always watched the President's Cup, even with no money on the line, which is incredible. It's almost uncharted territory for me to actually watch a sporting event with nothing on the line. So very, very happy to see that DraftKings decided to come out with this, and excited to break it down.
It's true. It's fun when you get – obviously the Ryder Cup is a little different. It's got a little more history behind it, Europe and US, but this is a cool little format, and we'll see. Now, the world, if you want to call them the international team, hasn't had a ton of success. They did win once. It was at Royal Melbourne. We'll get into all that. Before I do, though, I want to say, as we always do, Fantasy Draft, our sponsor of the show, sticking with us, which we really do appreciate. They are running once again. It's been week after week, some big tournaments, not just in football, but the NBA. With golf, will be coming around soon enough. We're only a couple weeks out for the new season. They have the great format over there, and obviously they have rake free. So all that money, 100% of the entry fees going into those prize pools, it adds up so quickly. We have seen it time and time again all year. So for people trying to grow their bankroll, trying to get an edge up on the competition, we really encourage you, go over there and check it out. Promo code AWESEMO, 7-day free trial. Definitely worth taking a peek at. But yeah, I mean, this is uncharted territory. I know that's going to be the theme of the show. I just said it in chat. You just mentioned it.
Yep.
We're going to get into it. Where do you want to start? Do you want to talk about the course? We have 24 players, the format. How do you want to do this?
Yeah, let's build up to the players, I guess, a little bit. I'm sure most people know who's playing, but we'll talk about the DK, the contest and the scoring. First off, I think that they probably went a little bit light because we're getting a 3 p.m. lock tomorrow.
Yes.
Unless that's been changed. I believe the first tee is, again, it's 14 hours difference. So they're 14 hours ahead of us. I believe the first tee time is 10 a.m. tomorrow, their time, so Thursday. So I believe that lock maybe actually moved to 6. Don't quote me on it, but I think that's what's going to end up happening, or at least until 5 o'clock. Coverage starts for us at 5:30. But let's talk about the scoring a little bit. If you played the WGC match play, then you're semi-familiar with the format. You're going to get it per hole scoring. 0.75 for a tie, 0.75 for a loss, and 3 for a win. Basically rewarding 3 points for a birdie, because that's normally what it takes to win a hole. A couple of times maybe in a match there'll be a concession and a team will win with a par or bogey. But lo and behold, that says to me, unless somebody has a huge other theory, you want to try and pick the guys that are playing all 5 times. That 0.75 for holes half comes in significantly. In the end, obviously getting 0.75 points for it. So that's the strategy that I think is best to try and focus on and build optimally around. I don't know that we're going to be able to do it, get all 6 guys in that will play all the matches. But I assume that's going to be your focus as well, correct?
It is. So I'm going to ask questions to you because you're definitely, and I think I have these answers down, but I want to kind of walk through it together here.
Yeah.
So we are going to, at midnight, announce the first pairings, and that will take place for those first matches. We will not know anything going forward. Now, everyone will play in the singles, of course, but those next couple of games, whether it's foursomes or four balls, we are just left to kind of interpret who Tiger and Ernie will be rolling out there multiple times, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, yeah, obviously the strategy is going to be trying to identify who is going to play, because the rules are everyone is going to play in the singles. Everyone has to play at least once. But there are going to be people who only play twice, I assume, total, right?
Well, I did some digging into the history of the President's Cup, and actually, believe it or not, the last two President's Cup, which are really the only two that you can look at, because prior to 2013, everybody played in the first two matches, and then there was 5 matches instead of 4. So altogether, there was 4 more matches prior to 2015. So I took that one out. So 2015, nobody played twice. Everybody played 3 times, and it's the same thing in 2017. Everybody played 3 times. Now, that's not to say that we won't have it, because we saw, like in the Ryder Cup, for example, which now has almost the same format. President's Cup has 2 more matches than the Ryder Cup does. A couple of guys played twice. Thorbjorn Olesen was a name off the top of my head that played only twice a couple of times. In 2018, a couple of other guys only played it twice as well, including Phil Mickelson and Bryson DeChambeau on the American side. So a couple of times it's been done. I don't expect it to, unless we get something like Bryson DeChambeau, who plays terribly, his first match, or CT Pan, same type of thing on the international side. Maybe just doesn't get it going in the first match and is coming in on kind of bad form. I don't expect it to happen, though, to be completely honest. It just doesn't look like – I don't think Ernie – unless, like I said, unless it's really CT Pan, I don't think Ernie's going to bring – any of his captain's picks to only play there once, and all the other guys that made the team automatically are going to get the go. So Pan would be the only one on that side, and then the American, maybe Kuchar, but Kuchar's played in so many of these, I can't imagine Tiger won't roll him out at least 3 times.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what Tiger does with himself, because I don't think he's going to be rolling himself out every match. I don't think he wants to do that. And it's going to be – so one thing I want to get into, and I don't know if we have to jump into it right now. Chad just asked about this.
Yeah.
The difference between this and Dell, obviously, is this is the first time we've ever dealt with pairings.
Pairings, yeah. That's the biggest thing. So now, which is the next bullet point, which is great. We can go over the formats. It's changed over the last 5 times. Over the last 5 President's Cups, it's just switched back and forth. But we have 4 balls first, which that's the actual title of the name of the tournament. It makes sense. 4 balls. There's 4 balls in the air. Only one team score will count to the lowest of the 2 scores for each individual. So, for example, Justin Thomas and Tiger Woods will each play their own ball. They'll take their best score and match it up against Louis Oosthuizen and Adam Scott's. That is 5 matches. We get that tomorrow, starting tomorrow afternoon. And then on Thursday afternoon for us, or Friday for them, we're going to get foursomes, which should really be called alternate shot. It's so silly that it's called foursomes, but it brings in a total new element. It's true alternate shot, meaning if you hit the last putt, the next guy tees off on the next hole. So total strategy element. And for DFS purposes, obviously, we're looking at pairings now. So if you want to go with the theme that, okay, it's likely at least 1 pairing, if not 2, from each side, play all 4 matches together. Well, of course, if you get a team that goes 4-0, you want to have both of them in your DFS lineup. So we can certainly talk about a couple of those guys. But I think that's the major difference is you can get a run. I mean, for example, last year, Justin Thomas, or 2 years ago, Justin Thomas, Ricky Fowler won 6-4 against Matsuyama and Adam Scott. And it was a ridiculous amount of points for both Thomas and Fowler there, about 42.5 points on this week, based on this week's scoring. That's going to be something that you need to find. So certainly pairing up these guys, which we're going to get in 3 hours or so, will be vitally important. And if you're interested in our thoughts on that, we've got something going on tomorrow morning that we're going to talk about.
Definitely. Yeah. We were going to be holding behind the paywall Slack office hours because we need, to be honest, we can't get into firm plays. We need to see these pairings. There's no doubt we're going to talk about what we think and correlation and whatnot. Once we get those pairings tomorrow morning, me and Jason both going to be in there talking about actual lineup construction. But to that point, so just to clarify, and I'm fairly certain, when guys play together, so Justin Thomas and Ricky are playing, They're each playing their own ball. JT makes an eagle, Ricky's in the water. They take their eagle for the team.
Yep.
Those guys are always getting the same score in terms of DraftKings scoring, right?
Yep, absolutely. It doesn't matter what they individually score on each hole, which, is nice. Obviously, you want a theme will be to piggyback off of Justin Thomas this week and see who Tiger Partners plays with him. I'm going to suggest that at least for the first round tomorrow morning, we're going to get Tiger and JT, and we can kind of go into those pairings a bit. But before we do, let's just quickly run through some of the history that we have here on the golfers that are playing. On the international side, we've got a bunch of rookies, so it'll go really quickly. You want to cover the international side?
Sure, yeah. Sure, my boys over here. I'll put it like this, and I'll pass it back to you pretty quickly. If you just look at the DraftKings salaries, the bottom 6 guys are all from the international team.
Yeah.
Yep. They're looking at Usti, who can get crazy hot in match play. He actually has a good record. And then you've got Scott, probably, Decky doing the heavy lifting. But they have so many newcomers when we talk about guys like Pan and Hao Tong Lee and Answer and Benyon and guys like that. What do you make of definitely a talented group, but certainly inexperienced?
Yeah, I found it really interesting that Hideki Matsuyama and Adam Scott, 2 perennial ball strikers that we always would pick on the top of our ball striking charts, both have pretty bad losing records. I mean, Adam Scott is 14, 20, and 5 in his 8 appearances. So that means he's only sat out 2 rounds. So expect to see Adam Scott probably every round unless it gets really cold. But Matsuyama, he's played in 3, and he's actually sat out twice. So don't maybe expect to see Matsuyama play all 5. Leishman has played in every one but 1, and then Oosthuizen never sits out in team play. When you look at it and you break it down from that side, Louis Oosthuizen is just the prototypical partner that you want to have. He's not going to make doubles on his own ball, and he's going to put you in play on the alternate shot. So no surprise to see Louis Oosthuizen also have a winning record too.
Yeah, because he's just the best, obviously.
Guy's an absolute boss, and I think we can bring up. You made that comment to me when I asked you earlier. I'm like, hey, did you see what Oosthuizen said about the Patrick Reed situation? And just Oosty just being Oosty, just come out, yeah, it was stupid, and it's just perfect. He the way he says it and the way he approaches it. And yeah, it's no surprise to see him only have 3 losses in this format.
No, I mean, it's a guy. First of all, anytime you can have Usti picking up short putts, that's a win with match play. Other than that, though, yeah, he fits a lot of things. Ricky's kind of like that in the sense of he's always, they say, like the perfect pairing guy. He can match up with a lot of different people. But as you mentioned with Usti, can keep you in play an alternate shot, has a good record here. We'll just see if they can get enough around him. Now, it feels like the Australians are going to have to, they got to do something here, whether it's Cam Smith, Leishman, Scott. This is right in their backyard. Royal Melbourne. Like I said, the international team has only won. They've tied once and they've won once. The win was here, I think it was 1998. They played in 2011 here and they did lose, but this should at least keep it somewhat closer rather than if it was in the States.
Yeah, I definitely agree to that. I think this course, first and foremost, Royal Melbourne, it's going to play fast. It's going to play dry. That's the way they want it to. It's not a coastal course. It's across the street from the bay, but you're not going to actually see the water on any of it, or at least the ocean. But it sets up like a link-style course, a link-style coastal course. A lot of rolling fairways, a lot of bunkers, a lot of native areas, a lot of waste bunkers for Patrick Reed to deal with again this week. So that'll certainly be a theme. So we've gone through pretty much on the international side, everybody, just Abraham Answer, Hao Tong Lee, CT Pan, Joaquin Neiman, Cam Smith, Sung Jae Im, and Byung Hanan, all rookies this year. So not a lot of experience for Ernie Els to go off of. However, Adam Hadwin only played 3 times last time. You think that because he does have the experience, Ernie Els might turn to him more? There's been a couple of questions about that, and Ernie has seemed to suggest that Hadwin's going to play more this time.
I think that's very possible. I mean, he's the type of guy, when people were kind of brainstorming who they could bring along, he can get hot with the putter. He does have some experience. He's crafty. I think this is a pretty good course for him. And, The international, my whole theory with them is what they need to do is just get guys who can get crazy hot. Because if you just keep it low variance, you're going to lose every time. You're obviously outgunned. There's no doubt about it. You need guys like Neiman, Haotong, Hadwin. I like that type of thing. What I also like, our friend of the show, Dave, who's been, longtime sub, really sharp guy, donating to us with Super Chat. We really do appreciate that. Thanks a bunch, buddy. But yeah, I don't know what to make exactly of what L's strategy is. It's just going to come down to, can they get going, and at least keep it close to get to the singles matches. Obviously their goal is, get to the singles matches. You have 12 points up for grabs and then try to take it.
Yep, no doubt. On the American side, very surprising, maybe not surprising. I'm not sure. I'm going to get your take. Matt Kuchar is the only one that has a losing record in this event. A couple of rookies, Gary Woodland, Patrick Cantlay, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Tony Finau. Those guys, a couple of them played in the Ryder Cup, but first President's Cup appearance. What do you make of Matt Kuchar being legitimately the only one with a losing record, 6-8-2 in his 4 appearances?
Before I answer that, I guess I want to just ask you, do you read a lot into guys' past experiences at both the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup, or do you take them more on just the players that we know, especially from the American side? A lot of these guys, we have a ton of experience of kind of who they are.
Yeah.
Do you equate it with, okay, Ian Poulter, notorious match play guy. Do you read into that, or you just take them at face value?
Well, I think Patrick Reed gets kind of the edge, so to speak, in the match play over regular play. He's better at, but his record wouldn't really suggest that. He's 4-3-2, so 4 wins, 3 losses, 2 ties. Yeah, it's an interesting question. Don't get me wrong. I don't know. That's a tough one to see. I guess I would be more interested to see if Tiger's looking at that, and Matt Kuchar and Bryson DeChambeau, who really struggled at the Ryder Cup. If Tiger sits both of them in round 1, then maybe Tiger's looking at it, or at least a little bit more, because it's going to be hard to sit Webb. And maybe it just so happens that Kuchar and Bryson are the 2 weak links of the team, and they happen to have bad records in match play. Maybe those two are there is a correlation, or maybe it's just a coincidence at this point.
We're going to have to – I think everybody is going to be forced to infer a ton of what we see with these first pairings.
Yeah, for sure.
When we get them now, we've seen on Twitter, and I think you've posted about it, and some other guys in the community have posted some of the pairs that have played both practice rounds together. Yeah. We'll see what that makes it, especially with the international team. A lot of these guys, they're not going to be pairings that they've had before, of course, because there's a lot of newcomers, whereas I feel like the U.S. has a lot more options in terms of who they can pair up.
Yeah, and I think that the Americans, because of how deep they are as a team, it's not necessarily top-heavy other than Justin Thomas right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think they can mix and match. Here's what I'll say. Just a couple of notes that I had. Webb Simpson, in his 2 appearances, has played all 5 matches both times. Has switched partners a couple of times. So no surprise to see somebody like Webb Simpson, who is a fantastic putter and is never going to get you in trouble off the tee, be able to be versatile and play with other golfers. I personally would love to see him play with Gary Woodland. I think that makes a great pairing and a nice stack on the DFS side. Let's see. Who was my other one that I had a note on? Fowler has sat in 2 appearances. He's played in 8 matches. So he's actually sat twice. Reason being was Justin Thomas was his partner 2 years ago, and they dominated. But then, I don't know if you remember that, they absolutely just dominated. For some reason, though, on that 4th match, the foursomes, he switched it up. Whoever the captain was at that time, I don't remember who it was, Davis Love maybe. They split him up. Fowler didn't play, and Justin Thomas did. Justin Thomas ended up losing that match as well for his 1 loss. Just thought that was interesting. DJ also in 3 appearances, so that would be a total of 15 matches that he could play. He's played in 14, so he's sat out 1 as well. Expect to see that again too with DJ and the hurt knee.
That's what I wanted to mention. And he says he's good to go. He didn't play in the Hero. I don't know. Maybe that is a reason that he. If they have it in hand, maybe they do sit him 1 session.
Yep.
But yeah, you just look at this team. You mentioned guys like Webb, Cantlay, and Xander coming in as these heavy hitters. Yeah, no experience, but God, they make pretty good pairings. So my plan is to, looking at kind of what we can do, I do think you're going to have to pair up those guys, especially if you think, JT can go out and just mutilate someone. Whoever he's paired with, even if it's a cheap guy, you're getting the JT points.
Yep.
It's tough because part of me wants to say, can you omit JT and try to steal that salary? But then
that was going to bring me into my next point is, let's just say that JT is the guy that we got to go get. Okay, we put him in our captain spot. That's 16-5 gone. I've tried a couple of builds. If you throw in Xander, let's just say JT and Xander end up getting paired together, and you want to get Xander in there, it's actually really hard to make a quality lineup of golfers that you think are going to play all 5 matches now, especially on that international side, which you're going to have to dip into because, as you mentioned, the 6 of the lowest priced golfers are from that side. So it's an interesting build to put JT in the captain spot. Whereas I'm finding it a little easier. Let's say he gets paired up with Fowler, right? That's where I think Tiger's going to go, unless Tiger pairs him with himself, which if he does, then I again think you may struggle to put JT in that captain spot because it's going to be hard. Tiger's not going to play all 4 matches. There's no way. I can't imagine. As good as he'll feel, he'll probably sit out either the 4-ball or the foursome on Saturday over there. So I think I've been finding it easier to do builds with putting JT in my lineup, of course, because I think he's a guarantee to play all 5 matches. I believe that Xander and Fowler, they played together yesterday. I think that could be the power pairing on the American side. I'm hoping we see that because that's the builds that I've liked the most. Putting Fowler in that captain spot, I'm able to go and get Thomas and Xander and 2 of the other guys on the international team that I like.
So I think that's the thing that I think we really hit on here, and it's really important, is if JT plays with the same guy leading up to the singles match, him and that guy are going to have the same amount of points.
Yep.
But he's obviously, no matter who it is, he's going to be cheaper than JT. So to me, it makes much, much more sense to use the other, whoever JT is playing with, possibly in the captain spot, because basically it's like you have JT in the captain spot until they deviate.
Yeah, one more note on that as well, just to add on to the theory. And of course, I'm going to make plenty of lineups, so it's not that I'm going to have JT in my captain spot. However, for my big dollars, that may be my variance there to go against them, because let's just say Sunday singles matter, right? And the international team has got a chance. There's no way that Ernie Els is going to put anybody else up against JT except for Oosthuizen or Adam Scott, likely, right? They're 2 best players.
Yep.
So if JT is going to have to really grind it out and possibly play against Oosthuizen, who he could definitely lose against, maybe you really want to go the other way and look for JT's partner if it's Fowler, or hope that another American team can carry you, like I mentioned, a Xander and a Fowler if they're paired together, a Patrick Reed and a Patrick Cantlay if they're paired together.
Absolutely. I think that's really what we need to do. Again, the pairings are going to tell the story early. Then we just have to anticipate. It's funny because, in Showdown, in NFL, we always talk about tell a story. Here, you're actually doing the same thing. You're just kind of saying, okay, if the U.S. falls behind, how do we think Tiger will alter these pairings? If the international team falls behind, which is obviously a lot more likely, how do they go about it? From the international side, I think Usti's the obvious answer in terms of possible captain. Is there anybody else that you would be willing to maybe take a stand on if you had to?
Yeah, so I think this goes to one of the bullet points that I had for us to talk about, which is giving our top 3 or 4 candidates from each team that we expect to play all 5 matches. At the President's Cup 2 years ago, when they had the same format, there were 9 golfers total, and 4 years ago, there were 7 golfers total. So you can expect at least 7, more than likely, to play all these matches. My guess from the international side is, as we talked about, Louis Oosthuizen, I think, is a guarantee he's going to play all 5. As long as he doesn't get hurt or didn't bring his mattress, I mean, he's such a good partner. I would want to be partnered with him if I was picking people. Then I think you go to the 3 Australians. I think he's going to put them out there every match. I think Cam Smith has already put himself in the Thomas Pieters, Rory McIlroy role of playing the villain against the American team and putting himself out there to really either get picked up by this local crowd or get absolutely flamboshed by this local media if he ends up throwing up a dud. But he's definitely put himself out there with the comments he's made. If you're not familiar with him, he was talking about Patrick Reed and said he has absolutely no remorse for any cheaters out there. So if that's the case, Leishman and my next level of thinking is Leishman and Smith. I know they haven't played together in the practice rounds yet, but they came second at the World Cup of Golf, which was, I think, either played here or played around the area.
Yeah.
And they came in second on the same team. I can't imagine that Els would want to keep those two apart from each other, both playing off the local crowd. That could become a powerhouse team. So to answer your question, other than Oosthuizen, I would go to Leishman or Smith. And I'm actually going to take Adam Scott's terrible history and take him out of my captain spots. I just don't think that he's shown me enough in these type of formats. And we have the most information on him. And he has a losing record. It's not even really close. I'm just going to take that. Plus, he's the highest priced guy. I'm okay with fading him in the captain spot there.
I'm in line with absolutely everything that you discussed. I agree. I think the Australians, it's going to be on them to carry this.
Yep.
Els is going to lean on them. Jason Day is not there. Might be a good thing for that team.
Yeah,
the rest of them,
it's a good thing for that team.
They need these Australians badly. These 3. Usti going to lead the way. Then you have Decky. Now, other than that, I mean, and we don't know, but I do. We only have 12 guys, so we can talk about this stuff.
Yep.
If you had to pick a rookie, now we're going to take Cam Smith out of it because I think that's the clear answer. Is there one dark horse you'd think from the international squad? To me, it would be one of the South Koreans, either Sunjae or Benny. Is there one guy that you think maybe it could be a catalyst, of these rookies for the international team as against the grain type play?
Yeah, I think this is where the international squad is going to be more fluid. Whereas the top end, I think it's going to be pretty structured. I think we're going to get a Leishman and Smith pairing, like I mentioned. They're going to play every time. Oosthuizen is going to play every time. Scott maybe play every time. So what does that mean? I think that they're going to rotate Matsuyama, Oosthuizen, and Scott with whoever is hot from those guys that you just mentioned. I really think it's going to come down to who's going out there showing the emotion and showing they can hold it, hold it in. We know that Neiman can get really, really hot, right? We know that he can reel off birdies in a hurry. Sungjae M, to me, in a foursome tournament, so alternate shot, you're going to love the consistency off the tee, and he's so good around the greens and putting. Partner's going to love that. I just don't know if he has the iron game to go out and compete in this type of format and make the tons of birdies that we need him to make. Obviously, he made the most birdies on the PGA Tour. That's because he had the most rounds played by far. It wasn't even close. Iron Man him here. Yeah, I think it's going to become whoever gets hot in this first round tomorrow. And that's the thing is when they give us pairings tonight, and I hate to keep harping on this, but when they give us pairings tonight, we're going to see what Els is trying to do. Is he trying to say, okay, I'm going to put 2 rookies out there together. I'm going to put him and Neiman out there on the same team, and whoever plays better is going to play the next round, right? Maybe that's what he's doing. Or is he going to take his experienced guys and put them with those rookies and see if they can carry him a little bit? And then whoever gets hot, like we saw Thomas Pieters. I brought that up already, but Thomas Pieters a couple of years ago at Medina. So not the one in Paris, the 2016 Ryder Cup. Came out of nowhere and then ended up playing every single match because he played really well in that first one. He got the crowd into it, against him, into it. It's kind of the same thing. I expect to see that with one of these rookies in our first match on the international side. Give the Americans all that they can handle, if not win a match, and I think that that's what's going to get them that second match. And building lineups will be based off of that. I think that's what will really set people apart in GPPs this week.
I do too, and I think Els has no choice that he can maybe hedge it a bit, but he's going to have to take two of these guys and tell them to go and just hope that somebody Neiman, Chap brought up, I totally agree. He's very viable. Hao Tong, the South Korean guy, somebody is going to have to step up and end up being, joining Usti and the Australians if they have any hope. There's no doubt in my mind that is the key to this tournament in terms of DraftKings is finding the rookie international player that is going to ultimately end up playing matches because he's playing well. That's the key in my mind.
And in historically, when I've looked at the last 5 cups, the guys that just sat out the first round, nobody accumulated more than 1.5 points in any of the matches. So obviously sitting out first puts you behind or against the grain. However, if Hao Tong Lee or CT Pan for that matter sits out that first match and they come and win their second match either together or if they separate, you're going to see them play again and again and end up playing probably 4 times. Hao Tong Lee, it's a really diverse, globally set of players. I love that. A couple of Koreans with An and Im, and then you got the Chinese with Lee, and then Matsuyama from Japan. It's a nice diverse set. And then of course Answer and Hadwin from over here, Canada and Mexico,
and Neiman.
And Neiman from Chile. It sets up nicely for telecast for growing the game globally. So I like that aspect of it all. With that being said, I think that Els is going to give these guys a chance to make their country proud. I mean, there's only one from Mexico, only one from China. So if they get hot, that's where it's going to really be. If they get hot, Els has no other choice but to go there.
Only one, man, times are tough. One South African.
Yeah, only Louis. Our Charles Schwartzel and Brandon Grace. And Grace and Oosthuizen, I don't think lost a match for
No, I know. It's crazy that Grace isn't here, but he couldn't.
Doesn't deserve to be, yeah.
No, he'd be on the Sunshine Tour the way he's playing, but that's neither here nor there. Do you think, and I know we can talk both sides of this, but I will say not everybody, but the majority of people, what they should do and what they're going to do, they're going to look for the pairings tonight.
Yep.
There's going to be 4 guys, right, who are not selected.
Correct.
I assume those guys are going to be by far the lowest owned people in this entire tournament.
Which presents an opportunity, right?
It really does, right? I mean, I'm not saying optimally, if you're playing cash, you might have a couple screws loose, and I respect it. But for tournaments, those guys are going to be, everyone is just going to say, well, we know they're not playing. We got to cross them off the list.
Yep.
If they come in super low owned, I might take some stabs with the guys that are sitting and actually pair them and hope that they get going.
And you see also, wanted to bring up, guys that sit, it was 80% of the time the guys that sit ended up playing together in that next match. So Charlie Hoffman and Kevin Chappell was a great example at the President's Cup. They sat, then they ended up coming out the next one and just blowing away whoever they played against. So those points for those guys that are super low owned are going to be huge. It's all about those other matches. Can those other matches be tight matches where it takes 2 tight matches to equal one of those blowout matches? So, all right, on the American side, I just wanted to get your thoughts quickly. Who do you got playing all the matches besides JT?
So besides JT, who do I think from the American side?
Mm-hmm.
Even though and again, I think that Xander still has a very real shot. I know he's a rookie, but he's just playing so well. I don't think he will be intimidated by any stretch. And then after him, to me, it would either be Patrick Reed. I don't know what Tiger wants to do because of the controversy. Maybe he embraces it. Maybe he shields him away. Or Ricky, who's just so good at pairing with anybody. I think those are the candidates in my book.
I found it really interesting that Webb Simpson, who is playing, I think, better now than he was a couple of years ago, played all the matches a couple of years ago. So I'm in for Webb. I think he's a reasonably priced as well. I think he's a dark horse to play all 4 matches outside of the singles just because of that consistency off the tee and around the green. So Webb has definitely been a big part of my builds that I've done so far. I think I've done 25 or 30 lineups. Didn't want to do too many for the pairing.
What about your boy Cantlay? We haven't heard much about him.
So I sent a note to you earlier in the day, and it was about Patrick Reed and Patrick Cantlay. They teamed up for the Zurich Classic, so they've already played together. So I'm not going to be surprised at all when Tiger pairs them together for round one tomorrow. Tiger wants to play with JT. He's been practicing to play with JT. It's going to happen for round one. So what does that mean? I think we get a Reed Cantlay showing, and I think if Tiger and Ernie Els are here for the show as well as the tournament, right? It's a show as well. We have to think and assume that at this point, with how much Patrick Reed buzz is going around, that it is part show. They're going to pair them up against Cam Smith. It's going to happen. I mean, I would think for tournament organizers, they want this to happen, right? At this point,
against the Australians, I mean, that would be the match of the day. If I could watch, I would love to see it.
So the Reed and Cantlay, I sent Ben 5 matches that I think are going to happen in round one. I have Reed and Cantlay going against Cam Smith and Mark Leishman. Again, I know that Smith and Leishman didn't play together in the practice rounds, but I really think that Ernie just pairs them together, puts the Australian powerhouse out there. And against Reed and Cantlay, I really hope that match happens. Let's talk about that for a second. Do you think that the internationals can take a team like Reed and Cantlay? Cantlay's maybe not playing all that well. Reed's got all this emotion going on. Smith and Leishman have the home court advantage and have played this course a bunch. Would you be looking, if that's a matchup, would you be looking to pair Cam Smith and Leishman together and fade Reed and Cantlay, which I suggested possibly earlier?
So really good price. Just looking at these prices, 60, non-captain, you got Leishman and Cam Smith, 6,200 and 6K. If the internationals are going to do it, we talked about Usti, but these are maybe 2 and 3 in terms of my book of who is going to need to play well. If they are paired together, and I think it is possible, I'm definitely going to pair them in my lineups together. I like that pairing. I hope that they're in a volatile situation like that, because I think Reed is going to be one of the more polarizing guys. Whereas if they're playing like Ricky and someone, I'm not as comfortable there. I would rather have them going against Cantlay, who isn't playing the best golf, and Patrick Reed, who I think the range of outcomes is gigantic with him. I know he doesn't mind adversity, but at the same time, we don't really know exactly what's going on.
Well, he even alluded to it last week when he had that penalty called on him at the Hero. One of the guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry, but I can't answer these things because I'm me. You're a golfer. How I saw it. Is that, clearly egregious? What's the ruling here? Is that as bad as it looked?
Yeah, most definitely as bad as it looked. With that being said, if there's no cameras around, and this is kind of what came out. If there's no cameras around and he's just playing and Spieth, or no, he wasn't partner, it was Spieth. It was who was he playing against or in the same group? It doesn't really matter who's playing. If he's at his own ball, who's ever in his playing partner is at his own ball and not paying attention, does Patrick Reed do this with no cameras around? Yes, he does. The answer is absolutely yes, he does. Now the question is, do other golfers do it with no cameras around? If this is going on around the game of golf and more golfers are doing it, we just don't see it because the cameras aren't on them. I don't really care that much about it. I mean, the cameras aren't at me, and I brush some sand away from my ball. Am I going to call it on myself? I don't know, Ben. I'm really not sure. So the act, I don't know how egregious it really was, but by the letter rules of the game, he definitely committed an infraction. Did he know he was committing the infraction? Yeah, I believe he does know that he was committing it. But maybe he thought it wasn't too egregious. I don't know. Definitely 2 stances on it. And the American sides, it's obviously, first of all the reporters are asking every single person about it. It's a great talking point for golf media and golf journalists, right? We're on the DFS side, so for you and I, we don't really care too much about it. I'm sure you probably don't care, but too much about it. But the golf media loves this, right? This is what they need to survive. This is what they need to thrive. So I think that's why it's getting played out a ton. He should have been penalized, and he was. That's kind of my thought on it.
Sun Kang thought it was fine, but
Sun Kang, let me tell you, man, Sun Kang would have taken a shovel for Patrick Reed and shoveled it up. Anyway, if you guys don't know what we're talking about, Sun Kang had probably the most obvious free drops of his life, and Joel Damon called him out on it. It was a great story for a couple of weeks.
All right,
anyway,
no, I mean,
yeah,
we'll see. And I'm with you. I think that there will be an element, and I think both captains in a way will embrace, especially in that first pairing. You know, I believe they rotate back and forth in terms of, you know, there is some strategy of who plays who, and I think they will both embrace the challenge. Then it will, of course, you'll see where the dust settles and they'll reevaluate. And like you said, ultimately when they get to the singles, will they human sacrifice someone against JT? Will they say, you know what,
we need to try and get the point from him? Yep.
Exactly. Or do you put like CT Pan and say good luck, but we want to put Usti up against, you know, we want to have a big advantage in another match. Those are things we're not going to be able to know when we build, but we can try to anticipate scenarios where we think those things are more probable.
If we don't get a Cam Smith, Patrick Reed Sunday singles, I might not watch it.
That's what we're here for. And
that is what I'm here for at this point. I want to watch them go toe-to-toe with it. So my last thought on Reed, though, what I want to say is he was getting interviewed before that final round after the penalty, and he told the reporter, he's like, look, I'm either going to go out and shoot 64 and win, or I'm going to shoot 1 million and come in last. So he even knows that there's a range of outcomes. When he taps into this extra motivation, he can go the other way south really quick, which was one of the reasons why I kind of brought it up to you way earlier, was like maybe Reed and Cantlay are a fade if they are paired together, because the range of outcomes with Reed is so vast and Cantlay is just not playing great. Maybe that goes into it. I would favor a Smith-Leishman if that ends up being the pairing and being the match. A lot of my lineups are going to end up with Smith and Leishman just because that's the way I'm playing. So let's go into that strategy a little bit. Let's talk about possible matches and how we can kind of build strategy off of that. Again, these are probably not going to be right. These are just what I'm surmising, what I'm seeing, what I think that the captains will do. Probably get none of them right. First one I had was listed was Woods and Thomas versus Scott and Oosthuizen. First off, do you expect Ernie to put his two best players, Scott and Oosthuizen, together? I think I just want to ask that right off the bat.
Tomorrow, yes, I do, because I think they're going to look to start strong, and they will take – I have a feeling it's going to be all hands on deck, and those two will play JT and whoever he's paired with.
Yep. That's what I've gotten written. Now, when we go down the list, I want you to give me – and I gave you a couple of the matches there. I want you to give me a pair from the international side that you think could be paired together that could come away with a victory tomorrow, which I think could really set up a lineup going forward.
So what I'm going to say is I think that they're going to put Decky with a rookie. I think maybe Haotong could be that guy. And Decky and Haokong could, you know, they're going to play obviously a formative, you know, a quality team from the U.S. That is the type of pairing, though, for the international team that I think could get crazy hot. Decky and Neiman, Decky and Haotong, someone like that. I know you have Answer there.
Yep.
I think those are all very interesting pairings, guys, that I might look to if I get against the grain, like a Decky captain with one of those other guys there, and then build around that with the top end, you know, the JTs of the world, who I would be stunned if they met in the first round. I don't see that type of pairing playing JT.
What two questions off of that. What pairing on the American side would you be excited to see go against Matsuyama in the first round to further solidify, okay, I'm going against the grain here and Matsuyama's going to be my captain?
So I hope it's whoever's the DJ pairing, because I don't know where DJ's game is at. Okay. He's coming off the knee. I think that they're, again, range of outcomes. If it's the Reed pairing, I'd feel very comfortable. I worry a little if it's the Webb pairing.
Okay.
I think that Webb's playing really well. I don't think this is a possibility, but if they played JT and whoever he's playing with, that would be – I don't want – unless it's Usti and Scott, I don't want anyone playing JT tomorrow.
That was going to be my next question is let's say I'm right and I get lucky and I'm right about the Woods and Thomas versus Scott and Oosthuizen pairing. We've already talked about how good Oosthuizen is. Are you going to shy away from putting Thomas and Oosthuizen in the same line?
No, I'm not, because I think that they, no matter which side comes away with points there and no matter how they play, I don't see the match getting out of hand, and I think they can recover. unless it's a full demolition, I think even if Usti and say Scott lose tomorrow, those guys can be pertinent parts of the international team going forward. But I don't want like, Hadwin and another rookie. If for some insane reason they were playing JT, I think I would shy away from that.
So it brings up a great point. Last time they put Matsuyama out there with Schwartzel, I was wrong. It was Schwartzel 2 years ago against JT Fowler. There's no way Els is going to make that mistake again. They won 6-4, Fowler and Thomas did, in the most lopsided event. There's no way Ernie's going to let that happen again. The first match of the day, to go out and see just Fowler and Thomas step all over him. He's got to put Usti out against Thomas in the first match. And again, we're totally surmising here. We're totally guessing.
Of course.
But this is the type of strategy that I think will be important for DFS. And one of the questions I just asked you, which was vital, is, are you still going to pair Usti with Thomas even if they play against each other tomorrow? And your answer was, yeah, you still will. And that's based off of you don't think that they'll play against each other in the next 2 rounds, probably, right? I mean, that would be the hope.
Of course, that would be the hope.
Yeah.
Now, if there's, I'm going to build enough lineups where I can kind of plan for multiple things.
Yep.
But I do think that I think more adjustments are going to have to come on the international side naturally because they're the heavy underdog. And I think that maybe they will slide. I think they want to get off to a non-crippling start, but I think after that we'll see some adjustments. Whereas I wouldn't be stunned to see the American side kind of hang pretty steady with the pairings. We'll see not to jump around too much, but who do you think, I know we're guessing, who do you think sits tomorrow for the Americans? Because we don't really have any weak links. Is it someone like Bryson? Is it someone like Woodland? Who do you?
I got Kuchar and DeChambeau. Both guys just not really in form that much. They came in. They were the last 2 finishers. If I got besides Cantlay at the Hero last week. Not that Tiger's going to take that into too much consideration, but I think that Tiger loves Gary Woodland, and rightfully so. Gary Woodland's game seems like it would be a great fit for this format and great fit for any team format. He's just so solid with his ball striking. So I can't imagine he goes against Woodland. No way he goes against Webb with how good Webb is playing and his stellar record in match play events. I really think it's going to be Kuchar DeChambeau here.
And there you go. See, like Bryson is somebody for me. If he sits, I'm going to have some exposure. I will try to get some leverage because
he'll be 5% owned probably, right?
That's what I'm saying. You're not going to need a lot. And Bryson is the type of guy we know he can get crazy hot. And if he goes out and wins 6-5, then, in his first match out, obviously Tiger's he's going to get going.
Yep, he's going to help. He might even play with Tiger. I saw them playing together today in their practice route. So that's kind of the next strategy of these guys that sit. 4 that sit. Let's just say it's Kuchar DeChambeau on the American side. If they come out and dominate that next match, I think that is an against the grain type of stat that you can do. But that's what you're hoping for, right? If they don't come out and they play an 18-hole match, and they go to the last or they lose, they probably only play maybe one other time before singles. Maybe. That's the concern there, but it's a risk reward.
Definitely. I'll say this. Totally risk reward, big tournaments strategy. And for me, I'm extremely more likely to target the 2 Americans that don't play because you're looking for wins and big wins. The chances that CT Pan and whoever else sits smoke an American team and then keep playing and get it rolling are so minimal in my mind, it doesn't make up for the ownership.
I just cannot. I totally agree with you. I cannot see CT Pan and Haotong Lee, Joaquin Neiman, Byung-Hyun An, or Abraham Answer. It's not going to be Answer. It's probably going to be either On or Haotong would be my guess that sits. Maybe Byung-Hyun An has the capacity to get real hot. We've seen him do that. But you got to be partnering with CT Pan, and it's foursomes there, remember. So whoever sits has got to come out and play with the other guy. So that's also something to keep in mind, too, is that they're not coming out and playing their own ball. They're going to be playing with the partner that's likely sitting. Like I said, that's statistically it's been what's happened. Which also brings me to my point of Kuchar and DeChambeau, if they go up against CT Pan and Co., maybe it's an interesting theory. We got to get Bryson to play. Either Bryson or Kuchar's got to get hot in that match, though, right? Because we've got to get them to play the next 3 matches. I would assume.
It's all about, they have to, I don't want to say crush, but they got to win. If
they got to win big.
Yeah, they do. They need a reason to jump into the rotation. But again, we're talking about a new format with limited knowledge. The one thing everybody's going to know is who's playing tomorrow.
Tomorrow, right.
So everybody, especially the casuals, are going to say, okay, well, these guys aren't even playing. There's no chance you can use them. And I wouldn't be stunned in the big $8 for one of the 4, particularly one of the 2 Americans that sit, could get in there if we see them ending up playing, throughout the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, and it'll get harder for them to play. Obviously, the sessions 3 and 4, which are Saturday. It's a double session day. It's only 4 matches, so 8 players in the morning and 8 players in the afternoon total, with 4 guys from each team sitting. So there's definitely going to be some heartbreaks. There's definitely going to be some questions in that when it gets to Saturday. Does Tiger end up sitting? And we've talked very little about Tiger, and I think we can spend a couple of minutes here as we're coming up to 9:30. We have to think that Tiger's the oldest guy on the field. There's no way as a captain he's playing all 5 matches. Does that mean he's pretty much a fade for DFS?
For me, he is. I think so. The big killer will be, and I think you're more likely right than not, is I want to target JT's partner. Right. But if it's Tiger, that is the anti-optimal, because I think there's no chance that he plays all 5. I literally think it's 0%.
Unless he is legitimately going for the only captain to win all 4 matches and be a captain. I mean, is he going for something like that? If he is, then yeah. I mean, obviously Tiger in the captain spot might be the pick because he's much cheaper than JT. I think you and I kind of agree he's not going to play all 5 matches. So if we know he's not, he's what, the 6th highest price guy on the board. But are other people going to think like this? Or is it Tiger Woods and it's casuals and it's a click no matter what? It's just because it's Tiger Woods.
I think there's elements of both of that. I just think if he's paired with JT, it's going to be even more magnified because everybody's want to go to that pairing, the first up. And I just worry about Tiger most likely, I think he takes it relatively easy. We have so many other guys. Volume. This is the only time I can ever say this, where volume equals production in golf. Yeah. That's an NBA slogan, and it's never applicable in golf because everybody plays 72 holes, Griot 36 holes. You know how it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
But I really think that this is a situation where you don't want to do that unnecessarily. So I probably will fade most likely.
So I think that we can cap it off with talking about the captain spot and talking about how difficult it is to put JT in that captain spot and fill up your lineup with guys that I think are going to play all 5 matches. Do you think that ends up being the build that most people end up with, and JT maybe is lower owned in that captain spot? I think he's going to be 100% owned or close to it in normal matches. But what about in that captain spot? Do you think that price tag will scare people away? Because, you just put him in there and your average is 6,700 and below, and you've got 2 Americans to choose from and a bunch of internationals. So lineup building is not easy with JT in that captain spot.
No, it's not, and it's tough because this is not normal golf. Like, we have guys at $4,000.
Yeah.
So it does open it up a little bit. I would just worry about, we have to be cognizant of duplicates. And when you put JT in the captain spot, you are funneled to cheap international players. And then, like, Ricky is going to be strongly correlated with JT in my mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I agree. I would assume that JT will be like 80% owned. Like, he's going to be massively owned. I don't know how people are going to build without him. I will certainly have lineups where I fade the JT and whoever is a pairing with him and just hope. Obviously, if you're doing that, and I know we're getting to the end here, I think you have to play the 2 internationals. If you think that JT goes down tomorrow, you have to play the other 2.
Oh, that are playing against him?
Yeah, to get the full leverage.
Yeah, which is, again, and this is a great note to end on, because pairings come out in 2.5 hours. Ben and I on the premium side, if you're thinking of becoming an Awesemo Plus member and are interested in a bunch of the other sports, including golf, great one, because we'll get some great analysis in there tomorrow morning. I'm going to put what we talk about, I'm going to put it into an article. So if you can't make the actual Slack chat, I'm going to put it up for you. However, I think this is a great point, is playing against JT, playing against the matchups we see. So we know JT is going to be 80% owned, and you're making a lineup and you don't want JT in it, you have to put the guys that he's playing against tomorrow. It's the only way you're going to get that leverage. So I think that's a really, really good point to end on. Any other thoughts like that, or players like that you want to go against?
No, I think really what it comes down to is make sure this is not the same as the Dell, but some of those concepts make sense, where you have to make sure what you're doing is logical. If you don't have JT because you think he plays bad, well, then you naturally, that's the example. I know we just went over it, but you got to apply that to same with who we mentioned with the sitting. Well, if you think those guys get crazy hot, extrapolate it out, try to envision how it goes and then build around it. Take one big stand, leverage it, and then build around it. And then if you nail whatever that is, JT going down, a rookie from the international getting crazy hot and playing all 5 matches, those are the kind of things you're going to need to get right. And then you throw 5 guys around them and you hope you connect. And
I think that's a really interesting part of this. That's why I'm so excited. It's
going to be fun.
Yeah, when we get those matchups tonight and you start to build off the correlations of the matchups that we see, it's fun and it's exciting. It was a special edition of our Live Before Lock show. The next time you'll see us, it's likely that they're not going to come out with anything else new, and we don't need to talk about the Afro-Meritus Open that we're going to have maybe in 2 weeks or something. You'll hear us back for the Tournament of Champions. It's a great 2 weeks in Hawaii. But again, one more note, we'll be in Slack chat tomorrow morning. What time did we say? Just so we can give it a time. Did we say 9, 8:30? Between 8:30 and 9.
It'll be in the morning. We'll be in there throughout, though. Like I said, we have Lock is at 3:00 Eastern. Jason's going to be in there. I'm going to be in there. Our premium members know we'll be talking in there. We'll be dropping the pairings and chat, as we always say. Much appreciated. Good group in there tonight. If you can hit the like button, does a ton for the show. And one other thing, and I've mentioned this on my Tuesday show with Tim, and me and Jason have been talking a lot behind the scenes. We have a little break here. So if there's anyone out there who has something that you say, I love this show, but I wish you guys did this, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up in Slack, because we're going to be planning out the new show. We're going to incorporate a lot of the tools we have behind the paywall, a lot more things, but we want people's feedback. The show is for you guys. So if anyone has anything, let us know and we'll try to get it in there. We love to see what people really are looking for this show.
Absolutely. Great point.
All right. Well, man, this was actually very fun. I didn't know how this was going to go, but it was a good time. Thanks, Fantasy Draft, as always, for sponsoring. Remember to go sign up over there and get on into Awesemo. But we will be back tomorrow in Slack and in a couple of weeks for the Tournament of Champions. It's been an awesome golf year. Thanks, everyone, for stopping by, and good luck in the President's Cup. Enjoy it, and we'll see you guys soon.